In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, I would like to welcome all of you of today's lesson, which is going to be about Unit 5, Conversation. Mainly today, inshallah, we are going to practice speaking. Let's see the objectives of today's lesson. Today, we will apply real talk phrases in new conversations and ask for an advice with the given phrases. Practice giving an advice with given phrases also, okay? And of course, as usual, we will start by revising the previous lesson. So we talked about the passive models, which is when do we use the passive voice, okay? And we said that we use it when the source is obvious. Also, we use it when the source is unimportant. Number 3, if or when we don't know who said that or said something. And number 4, when talking about people in general, talking about people in general. And of course, we mentioned some examples about that, okay? Do you remember? So, look here. They will find the lost cat. And we said that we should identify the subject, the object, and of course, the verb. Then we will look at the tense, okay, used here, or for example, the model used here, okay? Then we will do as taking the object to be the subject, okay? The lost cat will be found. We have to add be, and of course, the past participle of the verb, the past participle of the verb, okay? Found. What about the second one? The cat may catch the mice. We said that the mice may be caught by the cat. And number 3, you have to feed the birds every morning. And we said that the birds have to be fed every morning. Let's see the structure, how we can construct passive models. Follows this structure, of course, by doing the subject, either noun, pronoun, whatever, the model, then be essential in this structure, as a rule, of course, and the past participle of the verb. Let's see the model here we're talking about. We have can, could. These are the models we talked about. Then we move to something else, which is reporting the passive voice, okay? Reporting using passive voice. For example, it is believed, and we use this when we talk about what people say or believe, okay? As we said earlier, it is believed that dolphins are the most intelligent animals. As I said, who said that? We don't know, okay? People say that, or people believe that, okay? So as you can see here, the passive with reporting verbs. We talked about this, and people say or believe, to talk about what people say or believe. And we mentioned 2 ways to put this, okay, or struct this, like it plus the passive reporting verb, then that and the clause itself, okay? It is said that she is the leading expert on guerrilla communication, okay? Or it's believed that, and continue the clause to the end. Why? Because people believe that, or people say that, okay? It is said that she is the leading. What about the second one? Here we have subject, not it. We have here now subject, okay? Then the passive reporting verb, as I said earlier. Then 2, and the infinitive, and sometimes with the perfect infinitive talking about, okay? How it comes, of course, she is said to be the leading, to be, okay, infinitive, the leading expert. And dolphins, here I'm talking about dolphins, okay, because the first one we used what? We used it, okay, and the passive reporting. But now I'm using the subject and of course the passive, but we have to use the infinitive here, okay, the infinitive. Dolphins are believed to be, okay, infinitive, use to be, okay, the most intelligent of animals. And of course, if we use the present tense, okay, in the sentence, okay, the passive reporting verb followed by what? the present, okay, the present infinitive. But if we use the past tense here in this sentence, for example, the reporting verb, the passive reporting verb should or followed by the perfect infinitive, okay? Just like this one. The cat was thought to have, the cat was thought to have been lost sometime, okay? Here last week. As I said earlier, you can use all of these reporting verbs: believe, calculate, claim, consider, estimate, expect, feel, hope, also say and think. All of these are the reporting verb you can use to report something. Of course, when you don't know who said something, or to, for example, what are the people believe. Okay? Okay, very good. Now, let's start our lesson, the conversation, of course, on page 72. Okay, now look at these two pictures here. What do we have? Okay, this is a horse. Okay, this is a horse, of course. Now, look at this one here. A man is doing what? Is riding the horse, okay? A man is riding a horse. Now, this is a question for you, okay? Who is the boss in this relationship between the man and the animal? Who is the boss here? Who is taking control of things? Okay? It should be, of course, talking about the man. Talk about the man here. Very good. Now, you will hear a conversation between two people. One of them is having a problem with his horse. Okay, taking care, for example, with his horse. And the other one giving him an advice how to control or to treat him like this. Okay, first you are going to listen, then inshallah we are going to read together. Okay, and of course inshallah we will see the passage on page 72. Now just listen to the conversation. Are you ready? Let's start.
Page 72. 4. Conversation.
I'm interested in speaking to someone about horse training. A friend of mine suggested I come here.
What kind of problems are you having with your horse?
He's a beautiful, strong, and affectionate horse, but he's driving me crazy. He won't follow instructions. He will gallop instead of cantering. He won't turn when I need him to, and if he spots a patch of grass, he'll head straight for it and ignore me completely.
I gather you have a young stallion. I will check the schedule, and we can arrange training sessions for you and your horse. Hang in there.
Okay, but in the meantime, I really need some advice. How should I handle him when he disobeys?
Well, I can try and give you a few tips now. You say he'll head straight for a patch of grass when he sees one. Do you let him do that when you are out riding?
Well, sometimes, but I only want to stop for a minute or so.
You need to set rules and then stick with them 24/7. If you're not consistent, he's not going to learn.
Okay, but when he is all friendly and nice, it's hard not to let him do what he wants.
Look, I'm going to get to the point. It sounds to me like your horse is calling the shots. You need to be firmer. If you train your horse not to do something, then suddenly let him do it, you'll be back to the drawing board.
Okay, now, after you hear this conversation between Jax and the man who gave him the advice, okay, do you think Jack's problem here, he's strict on the horse or not? Very good, because now Jax is facing a problem. He should deal with that. Okay, so now let's move on page 72. Now you will listen again. You will verify, of course, the answer if between the conversation between Jack and Umar here. Okay, and I ask you the question: what is the problem with Jack here? Okay, here now Umar is giving him advice. I'm trying to tell him to do so. Okay, you are going to listen again to the conversation. Meanwhile, of course, in the meantime, we will, inshallah, after this one, inshallah, we will try to see the problem or the main problem and try to solve that, inshallah, earlier. Okay? So listen again to the conversation and then, inshallah, we will come back. Let's start.
Page 72. 4. Conversation.
I'm interested in speaking to someone about horse training. A friend of mine suggested I come here.
What kind of problems are you having with your horse?
He's a beautiful, strong, and affectionate horse, but he's driving me crazy. He won't follow instructions. He will gallop instead of cantering. He won't turn when I need him to, and if he spots a patch of grass, he'll head straight for it and ignore me completely.
I gather you have a young stallion. I will check the schedule, and we can arrange training sessions for you and your horse. Hang in there.
Okay, but in the meantime, I really need some advice. How should I handle him when he disobeys?
Well, I can try and give you a few tips now. You say he'll head straight for a patch of grass when he sees one. Do you let him do that when you are out riding?
Okay, now, as you can see here, what's the problem? Very good. Okay, so he's a beautiful, so now he's describing this horse, strong and affectionate horse, but he's driving me crazy. Okay, this is the problem here. Okay, why? He won't follow instructions. The horse, of course, won't follow instructions. Okay, he will gallop instead of cantering. Okay, he won't turn when I need him to. Okay, so again, do you think Jack is strict with the horse or not? Okay, so who is making the shot here? The horse, of course. Okay, so as you can see, and if he spots a patch of grass, he will head straight for it and ignore me completely. Okay, then Umar started to give him an advice. I gather you have a young stallion. I will check the schedule, of course, now. And then he said, hang in there. This is a real talk now, okay? And people or native speakers usually use these kind of phrases, okay, to give another meanings, okay? Hang in there when you tell someone just to encourage him, okay, to do something, okay, not to give up, okay? So he said, hang in there. And Jack said, but in the meantime, I really need some advice, okay? How should I handle him when he disobeys? What does it mean, disobey? Disobey to something, it means that you cannot obey, you cannot follow instructions, okay? So disobey means here, do not follow instructions or something like that. Then Umar started to give him an advice, okay? I can try and give you a few tips now, okay? You say he will head straight for a patch of grass when he sees one, okay? Do you let him do that when you are out riding? So now he's starting to ask him some questions, okay? Now let's move to the second one here. We will continue now and listen to the advice that Umar gave to Jack. How can he deal with the horse, okay? Are you ready? Let's go.
Well, sometimes, but I only want to stop for a minute or so.
You need to set rules and then stick with them 24/7. If you're not consistent, he's not going to learn.
Okay, but when he is all friendly and nice, it's hard not to let him do what he wants.
Look, I'm going to get to the point. It sounds to me like your horse is calling the shots. You need to be firmer. If you train your horse not to do something, then suddenly let him do it, you'll be back to the drawing board.
Okay, again. Well, sometimes, but only if I want to stop for a minute or so, okay, you need to set rules. What does it mean to set rules? To put some rules. Why? Okay, and then stick with them. Stick When you put some rules, you should hang with those rules, okay? To stick with those rules, with them, of course. 24/7. What does it mean 24/7? Okay, so here I'm talking about the days of the week, for example, and of course the hours of the day. So here when I'm saying 24/7, it means all the time, as you can see here, all day and night, okay? Non-stop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, okay? All day and night, all the time. But, of course, but when he is all friendly and nice, it is hard not to let him do what he wants, okay? So, again, Jack is saying something different now. When he all friendly and nice, it's hard not to let him do what he wants, okay? So, what's the problem with Jack here, okay? He's not strict enough with the horse. As you can see, look, I am going to get to the point. Get to the point, what does it mean? To get to the point. Get to the point here to be direct, okay? To be direct, to give you straight, for example, lines that you need and some advices you need. It sounds to me like your horse is calling the shots, or is taking control of something. Calling the shots, okay? So in charge and making the decisions I'm talking about here, okay? Calling the shots, taking control of something. You need to be firm. And then if you train your horse not to do something, then suddenly let him do it, what will happen? You will be back to the drawing board, okay? From the beginning, from the start, okay? From the scratch, as we say in English. To have to start a process over again from the beginning, okay? This is what we do. We mean by back to the drawing board. Back to the drawing board. So here, what's the problem with Jack? Jack is not strict enough. Actually, is not strict enough with his horse. Okay, very good. Now, we will move, of course, to about the conversation. We have 3 questions. Okay, I have 3 questions, as you can see here. Number 1, what problems is Jack having with his horse? Number 2, what advice does Omar give him? Number 3, how does Jack respond to Omar's advice? Okay, let's start by doing number 1. What problems is Jack having now with the horse? We said that his horse doesn't follow instruction. Okay, so we'll get up in a state of cantering and one turn when he needs him to. Okay, number 2, what advice does Omar give him? And the advice was, he tells him that he needs to set rules and stick by them. 3, how does Jack respond to Omar's advice? And actually, Jack says it is hard not to let his horse have, of course, his way. Why? Because Jack's here responded that his horse sometimes all friendly and, of course, nice. All friendly and nice. And now let's see how we can give advices, of course. An advice, as we said here, how can we give advice? Then asking for advice and giving advice. Okay, so now what we will do now, you will see this one here, as you can see, and you will read. Now, asking for advice, what do you suggest about this problem? Okay, what do you suggest I do about the horse, or I do about the problem? Now I am asking, suggesting now, okay? Or could you advise me on? Could you advise me on this problem or this issue, for example? Or I really need some advice on. So now all these are the way I'm talking about, the ways how you can ask for advice. Then the last one, how should I handle it when when the horse gallop and cantering, for example. How should I handle it when something happening? Okay, and of course, giving advice should be I strongly advise you to, using sometimes words like strongly, okay, expressions, okay, or if I were you, I will, for example, set rules and stick by them, okay? Or you could say, for example, it would be a good idea to. It would be a good idea to set rules and stick by them. And finally, it is not a good idea, it's not a good idea to, for example, to let the horse making or calling the shots, okay? So as we said earlier, it's not a good idea to let the horse calling the shots. Here, as you can see, learned how we can ask for advice and, of course, giving one. This is what we do now as asking for and giving advice. Okay? I would like to see the objectives of today's lesson. Apply real talk phrases in new conversations. Ask for an advice with the giving phrases. Practice giving an advice with given phrases. Okay? This was the last slide of our show today. I would like to thank all of you for watching us. Inshallah, I will see you at the next lesson. Goodbye.